Welcome back to the Rashi Nosh. I'm Pastor Matt.
And I'm Kara.
We this week are in Parashat Emor, and we are looking at a particular passage in our Torah discussion Rashi commentary from the JPS in Parashat Emor, a heading called Parting is Such Sweet Sorrow. So let's get into this. Of course, as always, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Share this video on your social media. Like this video. Put a comment down there so the algorithm will pick us up and that more people can be a part of what we're doing here. So what it says here at the top of page 102, in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with this story, Juliet expresses her feelings about having to bid farewell to her beloved Romeo with the famous words, parting is such sweet sorrow. A verse from the Parasha discusses Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of the celebration of Sukkot. So there is a similar sentiment that is expressed in this 8th day celebration. 7 days you shall bring offerings by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall observe a sacred occasion and bring an offering by fire to the Lord. It is a solemn gathering. You shall not work at your occupations. Now, Rashi comments on the unusual use of the word atzeret, meaning gathering. It literally means holding back to describe the 8th day of the festival. It is a solemn gathering. I have held you back, atzarti, with me, like a king who invited his children for a feast for a certain number of days. And when the time came for them to leave, he said, my children, I beg you, remain with me one more day. Your leaving is difficult for me. I like that. Sukkot is a 7-day celebration. We're about to take off, and God says, no, spend one more day with me. I've never heard it, aside from Rashi, put quite like that. And I think it's a beautiful thought. So anyway, in explaining why Shmini Atzeret is referred to by a word that means holding back, Rashi vividly conveys God's love for the Jewish people. I love this idea of sort of elongating the goodbye, or let's not leave quite just yet. I like that. So the discussion questions are as follows for today. Recall a time when you had a difficulty saying goodbye to someone. What feelings did you experience? Now, let me read all of these questions and then we'll just sort of discuss them because I think they
all go together.
Yeah. So in the same situation, what thoughts underlay your feelings? I think that's good, but this is the one that I think is very important. How can sorrow be described as sweet? Are there types of sorrow that cannot be described as sweet? So, of course, and I don't want to take anything from what you are going to say, but I'll just tell you the situation that I was thinking of, and then I'll let you go first if you have anything that you want to share, and then that way I won't sort of steal your thunder. But the first thing I thought about this was we have had 2 occasions with our oldest child, with Callie, our oldest daughter. We've had 2 occasions where there's been not really a goodbye, but a kind of sending her off on a new adventure. The first was dropping her off at college, where we drove 1,000 miles to drop her off in a totally different culture and climate and everything. And also, for me as her father, walking her down the aisle at her wedding was a sweet sorrow. And that seems strange to say. It's not that we were sorrowful that she was going off to college or going off to be married. It's the closing of a chapter. It's the end of an era.
Change, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just let you share first in case there's something you want to share.
I agree. Both of those are ones that are definitely sorrow and sweet mixed together. It's the end of something, but the beginning of something else. So it's good. I did pretty good with dropping her off at college because up until literally the moment we were driving away, there was just so much to do. There was organizing and there was all the stuff to set up and get everything and all the details and getting her settled in her dorm and all that stuff. And then once we literally had our final hug goodbye and drove away, that was when I finally got emotional about it, just because I didn't have time to get emotional before that, And again, same thing. It's good. I wanted her to go to school. I wanted her to be able to, have her independence and do her thing, but it was going to be different from then on out. Even with today's technology, it's not the same as having them in your home, And same thing with the wedding, just so many details and excited for her new journey, but at the same time knowing, oh wow, she is no longer a McKeown, and that's
Yeah.
just it's weird. But and then I also say the same thing um when my parents moved, because my parents up until a couple years ago lived within 10 minutes of us, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I'd been used to being able to see them anytime I wanted and running over there for this or that and helping with this. But with my dad's health and different things, they decided to move to South Carolina to be closer to my sister and my brother because they could help physically with my dad, and then they could watch my youngest niece continue to grow up because all three of our kids are grown, and so. But Penelope was still in elementary school, and they were like, we still have, we could be closer to see all her milestones, and it made sense. But at the
Yes.
same time, packing them into the moving van and sending them off, it was like different, it was a new era, but it wasn't totally sorrow. It was very sweet too because I knew I'd still be seeing them, and I knew things were going to be better where they were going to be. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think of a sorrow that was actually still sorrow. What was that? What
Yeah.
was that?
Are there types of
Cannot
sorrow
be.
that cannot be described as sweet?
Mhm.
There are interesting things about Judaism and Jewish culture and Jewish philosophy, the way to look at things in a Jewish way. And one of the things that we're taught is that every sorrowful thing, there's always a joy to find in there. And in every great joy, there's always something to reflect on that is a bit sorrowful. It's why you step on a glass and break a glass at a Jewish wedding. It's like, this is the ultimate joy. We're bringing this couple together, but we still have a destroyed temple. We're still thinking of struggle that has not been righted, and things that have not come to pass yet. And so I think there's this, and even in more mystical forms of Judaism, about mining the spark of holiness in even a negative situation. That there are, for instance, even Rabbi Shapira and Rabbi Bernstein of blessed memory have written multiple times about even in bad things, like in the sin of the golden calf, of mining the spark of holiness in that there's this way of looking for a silver lining. It's a very Jewish
God,
thing to
yeah.
do. But
Works all things together for good, even stuff that's not
yeah,
positive.
I'm even thinking of, we've done a lot of memorial services
I was
lately.
thinking of your granny. I was like, that was definitely sorrowful when she passed. But now, she's no longer in pain. She's,
Yeah,
got all the stuff. She's in heaven, so she's having a much better time than we are.
yeah.
And so even that one has a little sweet with the sorrow. So I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything that's like truly sorrow. Um,
Yeah, I think the only thing that I think would be only sorrow and no sweet at all would be, if somebody like completely rejected God or something, that I
yeah.
think would be, but even there, I don't know that I would say that there's anything sweet about that, but I think I would still have hope in that situation, and work toward someone reconnecting. But even at a memorial service, even at a funeral, it's in that time of sorrow, because we're focusing so much on that person. It's when all the memories come back. Like, we might not be able to just rattle off details of certain memories of a person, but for some reason at their service or once they've passed, all these things come back to us, and that makes it a sweetness that goes with the
And
bitter.
sometimes you see people that you haven't seen in a long time, and that's
Right.
sweet too.
So I think this is good for us, that there is such a thing of finding the sweetness along with the sorrow. And maybe this idea of holding back at sarti, maybe that's something that you can do a little bit. I'll just close by saying we had this big emotional thing of leaving Callie at college, and then COVID hit. And she came down for spring break and then didn't go back that whole year, as everyone was in lockdown and the pandemic and all of that. So in a way, we had that emotional thing. Oh, we're adjusting to the new normal of only having two kids in the house. And then she was back, and it made me very happy.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we were okay to send her back once the school
It was
opened back
easier the
up.
second
And
time.
yes, it was. It was easier the second time. So Anyway, I'm hoping that you learn to see the sweet, that you learn to see the silver lining, that you learn to see the bright side in even the most difficult situations. God is always at work, even when he isn't visible. We learned that at Purim just a few months ago. We learned that in the book of Esther, where he's not specifically mentioned, but God's holy name that we don't attempt to pronounce is found in acrostic form in the book of Esther. He's there. He's behind the scenes. It's almost like he can't be seen directly, but he's always working, even in the most tragic of circumstances. There's always something that we can be thankful for, and I think that's a good thing for us. So thank you once again for joining us for the Rashi Nosh. It's our pleasure to be with you every single week. All the best to you and your family. Shalom.